Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at you and the person that you are currently connected to. We're looking at all three sides of this connection. We've got your energy toward them, their energy toward it, and then the energy in between, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and kind of this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. Any information on this extended reading will be in the description box below, as well as any information on booking a personal reading with me. All right, Scorpio, on this side of the connection, you have celebrate differences with breakthrough. This is an interesting kind of message because what this is saying is the differences between you two, between you and this connection, are actually going to be what brings you to some sort of a breakthrough here. It's almost like the things that you feel keep you guys the furthest apart are actually the things that could potentially bring you closer together. I know that sounds kind of strange, but that's just kind of what I'm feeling here. Like, it just feels like there's these like these it's not an opposites attract kind of situation, because I don't necessarily feel like that's the case, but like your differences in perspective or your differences in how you view love and things of that sort. Like, that's ultimately what I feel like is going to lead to some sort of a breakthrough in the connection. Now, this person has renewal of peace with acceptance of love. I feel like this person struggles when it comes to fully accepting love into their life. And I feel like that's been something that has been very challenging for you, because it just kind of feels like no matter what you do, um, it's not that it's not good enough for this person, but it just feels like this person, like they don't fully know how to accept it. And if they don't fully know how to accept it, they don't fully know how to reciprocate it. Now, with this renewal of peace card, it almost feels like this person is, like, I look at this baby on here. Not that they're a baby. That's not what I mean. But it just feels like this person is very, like, fragile, kind of. Now, whether or not they put that out there, like whether or not that's obvious, I'm not quite sure. It depends on their personality. But it just feels like they're very, like fragile, or like there's this need to kind of look at them, when you're struggling with anyone, when you're struggling with a connection with anyone, when you can kind of look at them as a small child, them kind of learning and wanting love just as much as you do. It makes it a little bit easier to understand them, because I feel like there's a lot of like I said, like differences in how these two people view giving and receiving love. Now, I feel like their view of it might be a little bit more immature. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I just feel like there's this like lack of common ground in this connection, and that's ultimately what's kind of keeping things, because I feel like things are kind of at a distance right now. Whether or not you guys are even living together, like in the same house, I do still feel like there's like this distance here. Now, in between this connection, you have pause with clear out the old. I thought this was interesting because it feels like there's this like old kind of karmic energy that's currently affecting this connection. And this pause or this distance or this like separation of some sort is to help clear out old energy that is affecting the connection's ability to run smoothly, if that makes sense. It's like like you think of like this connection, like taking this connection to like the mechanic, like you would like a car. Like, I just feel like there's this and that comes with both people needing to do the work here, right? But let's see, Scorpio, more about what you're dealing with in this connection. This is Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. This is Scorpio's side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. This is Scorpio's side of this connection, please. Scorpio's side of this connection, please. I feel like you've been putting in quite a bit of work to make this connection work. or you did in the past. And I feel like you've kind of gotten to this, I don't necessarily want to call it a hopelessness, because I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be that intense, but there's this like, just, you haven't seen the results. It's like you put in the work, but you haven't seen the results of things here. Now I feel like that, I don't want to say that it's one-sided. I'm just not sure if this person is putting in as much of the work as you are, especially if they are this more like fragile, like new to love energy. Like, I don't even know if that's the case, if they are new to love. It just feels like they're more fragile than you in some way, shape, or form. I don't necessarily know what that means yet, but that's definitely something that's coming through. Um, there is a lot of love here. There's no doubt about that. But I feel like it's this love that it's been very tiring for you, Scorpio, because you haven't seen things kind of like bloom. Like it's the kind of like you're like, you think of like a house plant. You put in the work for this house plant, you're watering it, you're following the instructions, you're doing everything that you need to do, but it's not blooming, it's not growing, it's not becoming what it is that you ultimately intended for it to. Now that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the intention to, or the not intention, doesn't mean that it doesn't have the potential, but you want to make sure that potential isn't the only thing it has, right? All right, Scorpio's side of the connection to this person. I do feel like, though, it's like, ooh, what's this Ace of Pentacles? Ace of Pentacles, Two of Wands, Ten of Swords, Death, and the Temperance in reverse. You know, I do feel like at one point in time, this person very much aligned with you in your path. Like, it feels like they were very much meant for you here. But then over time, it feels like as that new energy wore off, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like, it didn't need to wear off quickly. It could have worn off over a couple of years, take it as it resonates. But it just feels like that energy of it feeling aligned and it running smoothly and it going the way that you wanted to. It just feels like that's it's kind of worn off. And it's left you very frustrated about this because it's been painful. I mean, you have the Ten of Swords with the Death card here. It's been painful. And it's almost like it went from being something that felt like almost like perfect to hurting you. And it's been a very, I feel like, challenging change in this connection for it to kind of, I don't want to say it's run its course, but because you're at a pause energy. Like, it's pause, it's not end, right? But there's something here that is keeping you guys stuck in this pause, in this energy of kind of pain. And there could have been, betrayal or, something like that. And if that's the case, then that's kind of a whole different, that adds a whole new layer to this. But let's get more Scorpio on your side. Scorpio's side of this connection, please. See, Scorpio, now I feel like you're struggling with setting boundaries and standing up for yourself here. Could be dealing with an earth sign. You don't have to be by any means, but it feels like you're afraid to set boundaries, like to ask for your needs to be met, to be assertive about what it is you need, because you're afraid of losing the connection. And that makes sense, right? Why you would feel that way. But when you start to feel like over and over again, and I feel like maybe this is what's changed, is it's like in the beginning things were good, but then as time progressed, you started realizing like this person wasn't really meeting your needs. They weren't reciprocating. They weren't putting in as much of the work and the connection as you were. And over time, you kind of have built up this resentment for this person. It kind of feels like there's this like this frustration of, why won't you work as hard for this as I do? And Um, but I also feel at the same time there hasn't been a lot of boundaries set here, in the sense where you're saying, this is where I draw the line, because you are afraid of losing this connection, and that's it makes sense, especially if there's love here, right? Which this is a love reading, so there obviously is. But I just feel like, yeah, it's like over time, these differences between you, it almost feels like you've done the work to like accept their differences, but like they haven't done the work to fully accept yours in a way. Let me get more for Scorpio's side of this connection. You're having trouble saying this connection clearly, like through the lens of, like, it almost feels like there's like rose colored glasses on, or you're giving this person so much of the benefit of the doubt because you care about them and you care about this connection. So I feel like you've given this person a lot of the benefit of the doubt, because this connection, it is kind of like a foundation for you, a foundation for your stability, a foundation for how you feel, like the level of stability you feel in your life, kind of. But what you want to make sure of is that this hasn't become a comfort zone where you're allowing this connection to be less than what you deserve, but because you're afraid that if you lose it, something better would never take its place. Because a lot of times we get stuck into this mindset that, oh, this is the best I've ever had, it must not get better than this, so I need to fight for it. And sure, when you in the beginning, absolutely work on it, work on yourself, try to work on communicating, try to work on making it work with the other person. But then over time, if things don't progress and if the other person isn't willing to put in the same effort as you are now, I don't necessarily know if they're not willing, they might just not know how. Then that's when you kind of need to make a bigger decision for yourself, right? Because I feel like it's like this person you've built up resentment here on some level, in some way, shape, or form, and it's because there's this lack of reciprocation. You feel like you care more, you feel like you do more, and it could be like even just like stuff around the house, like you feel like you do more than this person, and this person doesn't really care to meet you in the middle, or whatever the case is. All right, Scorpio's side of this connection, please. I feel like you've really put yourself out there in this connection. You have the Knight of Wands, the Moon in reverse, and the Five of Cups. Like, you've been the one trying to be vulnerable, trying to be open, trying to be, um, make it obvious that you're accepting. And I just feel like you're met with disappointment, because again, I don't know if this person knows how to meet you halfway. Because again, it's like they're more fragile than you. I don't know, like I don't know what I mean by fragile, because I don't necessarily mean that they're like sensitive. That's not really what I'm feeling. It's like they're just a little more immature, like, than you are, especially on an emotional level. But yeah, it's like no matter how much you put yourself out there, it's like you're kind of just met with this disappointment, because this person, they haven't done the work to kind of meet you halfway. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible, but let's see, is Scorpio's side of this connection. Scorpio's side of this connection, please. Page of Cups, Death, and the King of Cups. Something needs to change. You know that. You feel that. Something needs to change on your side of things here. And I feel like this emotional immaturity kind of coming from this person is the biggest obstacle. Now, that's where you kind of have to make the decision where it's like, okay, is this person capable of the emotional maturity that you are ultimately looking for, right? That was one thing my therapist really opened my eyes to when I kind of first started seeing her and talking about just past relationships and relationships with family members and things like that. Is she really opened my eyes to the realization that, like, a lot of times we expect people to have the same emotional maturity and, be kind of at the same level of healing as we are. And when, they don't reciprocate the love that we give or the trust that we have or whatever the case is, we take it personally. We're like, well, why aren't they giving that to me? Why aren't they showing up for me the way that I would show up for them? And it's like, well, because they're not at the same place in their life to do that in the way that you deserve. And so it's like, sure, it's not fair for you that they're not showing up, but at the same time it's not fair to them that you're expecting them to be what they're not capable of being, right? In terms of like what I mean by that is, like, is it better to just walk away and let this person do the growing on their own, right? Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but that did kind of open my eyes to realize, to not taking it so personally when someone else isn't able to be what we need them to be. All right, Scorpio's side of the connection, or Scorpio's person side of the connection to Scorpio. Goodness, the person that Scorpio is dealing with side of the connection to Scorpio. It's kind of like that whole, like, let people be who they are and adjust your proximity accordingly. Because you cannot change anybody, you can only control yourself. All right, this person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio. There's that same Ace of Pentacles. See, because they want things. Ooh, okay. Because you saw this Ace, but theirs is in reverse. And what I'm kind of reading that as is, like, you're ready for the kind of connection that you're looking for, and they're not. Like, they're not ready. Not that they're not capable, it just feels like they're not ready. Like, they're not, like, not capable in the future, but as of right now, it just kind of feels like they're not, because you had the Ace of Pentacles, right? They have it. This is definitely in reverse. And with this Queen of Pentacles in reverse, it just kind of feels like they're a little bit more unstable than you are. Not that they're, like, crazy unstable, right? That's not what I mean. But just like they don't have the same. What reading was it this week that was kind of similar? It's like not on your level. I think it was Taurus, one of the earth signs. And this is kind of a similar energy, um, of just kind of like this. It's not fully the same, but kind of the similar energy of this person just not being ready for the same things that you are, and then getting upset with, being upset with this person because they don't know how to meet you halfway. Because again, they're like, I don't know, if maybe like a naive, like they're a little bit more naive than you are. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. There's this Death card. And there's that Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So you guys are kind of feeling the same way about this connection. Oh my gosh, and there's the Ace of Swords in reverse. So that's kind of crazy. Because these two are literally right there. Yeah, it's almost like I feel like you don't realize that you guys actually feel, because you have this differences card, right? Like, I feel like your perspective is different, but the way that you're feeling is the same. It's like you both would like to have the same outcome, but maybe your perspective on how to get there, oh, I don't want that your perspective of how to get there isn't the same. I want more on this death card. Because they also feel that things haven't progressed to where they want it to be, but yet I don't necessarily know if they're putting in as much of the work. Clarifying this death card. What is this death card? Oh gosh, I'm sorry guys. Just give me 1 second. He's taunting me. Clarifying the death card here. I am so prone to mosquito bites. It's insane. Okay. There's the 3 of Wands, which we also saw. Kind of talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. You know, I feel like this connection has become very comfortable to both of you in some way. I don't really necessarily feel like it's, I don't want to say not making you happy. It just feels like it's lost a lot of, you guys have lost a lot of your reason as to why you're in this connection to begin with, in a way. Like, what got you, like, if it's romantic, like, why you fell in love with the person, right? It's like that, those, it's so distant. It's so distant. And now it doesn't mean that it's not possible to get back there. I don't know. It kind of feels like this person is like, they feel withdrawn. That's what this feels like. They feel very withdrawn. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio. See, they're hopeful about things improving, but they actually lack confidence in themselves. Now, I don't necessarily know if they show that. You know, they might actually come off as very confident, just kind of depending on the personality and whether this person, um, acts from ego or tries their best to kind of come from a grounded, place. It feels like they doubt themselves more than I think you realize when it comes to this connection. Because it's like they're hopeful of the potential, but they're not confident in their side and their ability to be able to, it's like give you what you want, Scorpio. That's what it feels like. Now I feel like you aren't confident that you can give them what they want. So I actually feel like you're more on the same page than you realize. This person's energy towards Scorpio, you're definitely more on the same page than you realize. I just don't know if like that's been communicated. This person's energy towards Scorpio. There's the Ace of Wands. Now you have the Six of Wands in reverse. See, I feel like a big part of the problem here is this person might focus on like the passion in connections, like maybe like the physical aspect of them or the, that intense feeling that you feel at the beginning, and you're more focused on the emotional connection. And I feel like maybe this person isn't fully capable or understanding of how to form the emotional connection you're looking for. And then that turns out being very difficult for you because I feel like then your needs very clearly aren't being met in this connection, but then you don't really speak up about it because you don't want to lose it, right? Like you don't want to push this person away. And I feel like that's where a lot of this resentment has kind of come from. This person's energy towards Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio, please. See, there's that Eight of Pentacles. I feel like they've been doing a little bit more reflecting than you think on how they can work on this. Now, whether or not they're going to act on that, I don't really know. Because it kind of feels like you're asking for something like, hey, I need you to show up for me, and then they're like, buying you flowers. And it's like that's fantastic. That's such a wonderful move for someone to make, right? It's a great way to show like that they care about you, but then they don't do what you're ultimately asking, which is like show up for you. Like you ask them to be on time for date night. It's like they show up late, but they brought you flowers, and they're like, well, but I brought you flowers. You're like, but the problem was that you're not showing up. You're not showing up on time. You're not making that effort. And it's like, I'm not saying that that's the case, but it just feels like that's where it's like they try, but I feel like they try in all the wrong ways. And it's not that they like don't want to. I just it kind of feels like they don't like they're not ready. Like that's what I'm feeling. Like they're not ready for you. That's where that like not on it's like the same kind of similar to the not on your level. But this person feels a little bit more like innocent about it. The other person, like in that reading, I think was a little bit coming from a little bit more of an ego place. It doesn't necessarily feel like this person is as much. All right, last one for this person's energy towards Scorpio. See, they want what once existed between you guys in the past. But here's the thing, sustainable connections of any sort, but especially romantic, eventually that first meeting, you meet each other, there's those heightened chemicals in your brain, there's that really excited feeling that will go away, the honeymoon phase, right? Like that is going to eventually wear off. And it's about the emotional connection that's been built and the trust that's been built that carries that connection further. And that's the most important part of sustainable connection, is building that past the honeymoon phase, right? Not letting, like when the honeymoon phase wears off, not just letting the connection die because you didn't take the time to really, get to know each other and get to understand each other and things of that sort. I feel like this person, they kind of chase that honeymoon phase. They feel like they're like, well, things don't feel the way that they once did in the beginning. And it's like, well, they're not supposed to, because no matter what, that will always wear off. That aspect, that like intense attraction, or like, the butterflies and the tinglies you get, that's actually not, that's not love, right? That's infatuation. And that infatuation does eventually wear off. And whatever lies underneath that is what kind of determines whether or not it's a good, healthy, sustainable connection. And I feel like you're like trying to work on that part. And I feel like they're trying to chase what this once was in the beginning. And that doesn't mean that that's like, it feels like they're a little bit more immature than you when it comes to this. And it's like, it's hard because I feel like you're trying to see things from that, more mature, less idolized view of things, idealized view of things, because love isn't all sunshine, rainbow, butterflies, and you know I love yous. Like love is about, who are you willing to have those hard conversations with, who are you willing to work through the conflict with, who are you willing to stand by when they're struggling with physical or mental health. Like that's what real love is. And I feel like this person doesn't really fully grasp that. They're looking for that like fun, emotional high kind of situation. And that's why for you, you're like, well, I want to build this deep connection. And they're like, well, what? Like it's not necessarily that they don't want to. I just don't think they get it. So that's why you have pause and clear out the old. It's almost like there's this like weird karmic kind of energy that needs to kind of be released. But we're going to clarify that in the extended. So like I said, any information for that's in the description box below. Thank you, Scorpio, so much as always for the purchase of those extendeds. They really truly mean the world to me. But even just your support of my channel, your comments, the likes that you give on my video, just the views in general, even if you don't purchase the extendeds, like it seriously it helps me more than you guys know. This is what I do for a living, and the fact that you guys support me and my channel, it makes that possible. So thank you guys times a million. I'll say it every single week. It means more to me than you know. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Scorpio.